Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. Happy Monday, all you minties. Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your advanced look at the Star Wars Legends, the Empire Omnibus Volume 2 from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, before going any further, I do want to thank David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on October 31st or November 1st, depending on where you get your books. And speaking of direct market and book market, this is the standard edition cover. On the left-hand side is your direct market cover, and that one is drawn by Killian Plunkett. And the direct market cover is only available at places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, comicsbugle.com, Reed's Comic Shop, and Diane Bree Collectors Organic Price Books, In Stock Trades, Tales of Wonder, and places like that. But this one here, this cover, is available everywhere. So let's take a closer look at it. You have the Star Wars logo up there, the Empire Legends, no Volume 2 on the cover, the Marvel logo, and on the spine is where you're going to find the Volume 2, Marvel Omnibus, Star Wars, The Empire Volume 2, and there's that picture of Vader. And then the back of the book. Darth Vader, droids, and Dash Jenner. I love that Dash Jenner takes the top billing here. But I'll talk a little bit about more of the stories collected in here in a bit. And rated T for teen, of course. Then you have Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and the ISBN. Retail price of this one being $125. If you're wondering how it looks next to The Empire Volume 1, well, here you go. This is where I'm keeping it, because I'm keeping my Dark Horse era and Marvel era separated, but I'm keeping it right here, right before the Rebellion. Now, let's take a closer look underneath the dust jacket. I love that cover, by the way. No offense to the droids. The droids are great if you're a fan of the droids. Not a lot about the creators. Usually this is where they have a little bio on the creators, but it just gives you a list of creators and then a little bit as to what kind of stories you're going to find in here on the flaps. But man, that design of Darth Vader, my goodness. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved that mask. And to this day, no matter, what comic book, who the artist is, it just looks so menacing and evil, those soulless eyes. Anyway, there he is right there. All right. Now, we're going to crack this book open and kind of give you a synopsis as to what's going to be found in here. I will go ahead and say this, that the Empire Omnis are mapped different than the Empire Epic collections that Marvel put out just a few years back. Keep that in mind in case, you're trying to collect the stories but don't want to double dip, and I get that. I understand. I do the same thing. But they're mapped differently. So not everything in Volumes 1, 2, and 3 are collected in the first omnibus. I think I mentioned that in my first overview. All right, let's crack it open, check out the artwork, and talk about some of the stories collected in here. Okay, let's go ahead and crack it open. Here we have some black end sheets. Another amazing picture of Star Wars, Darth Vader, the Empire Volume 2, Legends. And Legends is what they are calling the Dark Horse era of Star Wars, before Marvel and Disney. I can't say before Marvel because the original Star Wars comics were printed by Marvel. But the new Star Wars stuff that kicked off with Jason Aaron's run and Kieran Gillen's Darth Vader. Lots of credits. So you have all the writers up here, the pencilers, the inkers, the colorists, the letterers, and of course the assistant editors and editors at the time. So anywhere from Randy Stadley to Tim Sato, Kia Asamiya, and I recognize Kia's artwork immediately. Gabriel Guzman, Douglas Wheatley, Stephen Thompson, and these are probably some names that you're familiar with if you've been reading Star Wars for a while. Your inkers and colorists right there. And here is your table of contents. Now, one thing I will say about the table of contents, because it tells you the date that these books were originally published, and I came to learn a lot through this, by the way. It's really cool how these are mapped. There's a lot of thought and love put into these because the stories are not collected in publishing order. The stories are collected in chronological order based on the different times that the stories are supposed to take place. And I think there's a lot of guessing sometimes because, not every creative team was working on the same book. As a matter of fact, you have a lot of creative teams. But what I was going to say is, like, that's why you'll see some books here from 1994, and you'll see some books here that started off with from 2013. But the other thing is that this is one of those books that even though they give you a page number, I didn't see any page numbers down here. So even though they tell you that you can find this particular story from Star Wars Droids number 6 in page 888, yeah, no page numbers. Or at least I didn't see it, but they do tell you what book you're reading. They give you a frame around the cover, and they tell you the book you're reading. And not only that, but also the creators, like the writer and artist that worked on the book, the inkers, the letterers at the time. And when... No, they don't tell you when the book was published. They tell you that here. So keep that in mind, that even though they give you a table of contents, there are no page numbers. All right. So what is collected in here then? Oh, I love this right here. The Empire Volume 2. Kind of gives you a brief catch-up as to what's happened previously and what to expect from here. And it is mainly a Darth Vader book. I want to say about... I don't want, not even half of it, maybe just a little more than half, so maybe two, like, the 3/5. Boy, that's kind of really, really nailing it down to a fraction. But yeah, I guess 3/5 is about Darth Vader, and then 2/5 of the book is the droids. So what's collected in here? This collects Star Wars Dark Times Fire Carrier 1 through 5, the Dark Times A Spark Remains 1 through 5, Star Wars Darth Vader and the Ninth Assassin 1 through 5, Star Wars Darth Vader and the Cry of Shadows 1 through 5. That's an awesome title. Ninth Assassin is a little too on the head. Star Wars Droids Special number 1 that kicks off the Droids era. And then we have Star Wars Droids 1 through 6, Star Wars Droids 1 through 8 from 1995. There's a difference. 1994 was only 6 issues. 1995 was 8. Star Wars The Protocol Offensive, and then material from Star Wars Visionaries, Star Wars Tales 11 through 12, 15 and 20, Dark Horse Presents Annual 99, and Star Wars Galaxy Magazine number 1. The book has 1,032 pages. And like I said, retails for $125. So the first storyline is all about the Empire hunting down the Jedi still. Because all of this taking place after Episode 3. We have Palpatine taking over the galaxy pretty much, and his right hand being Darth Vader. And they are hunting down remaining Jedis ever since the order was executed in Clone Wars. And this is after the prequel movies, because this was originally printed, the Darth Vader stories were originally printed in 2013 to 2014. So by then, we've had the episodes 1, 2, and 3. So they kind of have ideas to work off on. But also introduce new characters. Now, don't expect things in here, or characters in here, like Ahsoka Tano, because that wasn't created until the Clone Wars, the CG Clone Wars series, which is freaking awesome if you haven't seen it. But this is pretty much Dark Horse telling the creators, look, we need stories to kind of fill in the blanks between episodes 3 and 4. And it must be really fun, even though we know where episode 4 starts, right? With Luke becoming a New Hope, with characters like Leia and characters like Han Solo. But in this, it's like, okay, well, let's focus on what happened to the rest of the Jedi. In this particular story, the one that kicks it off, we're learning about Jedi Master Krunk, I think is his name, Kruk, maybe that's how you pronounce it, and a group of just Padawans that are crash landing in this Imperial-run planet. And he runs across his own master who has survived the execution of all the Jedi. This gentleman right here, I think his name is Matu. This is Kruk right here. And a bunch of Padawans, and all they're trying to do is just survive out here in the wilderness. And then, of course, you have Darth Vader. You have his side of the story, and how he is trying to program this assassin to go after the Jedi to kind of almost make it automatic. The next story arc in here, I can't tell you how that ends. It is really cool, though, how you see both sides of the story in here, because you just don't see evil like Empire characters. You see some Empire characters that used to work with the Jedi and are kind of caught in the middle of things, and that's what I enjoyed about these earlier stories. Now, in the second storyline, we are reunited with Dash Jenner. That's why it really surprises me that he took a top billing because um, he's only in it for just a few issues. And this shows some badass scenes with Vader. Like, he is just ruthless. This is the kind of Vader that I like. He was the one that I really enjoyed in the Empire Volume 1. Like, Empire Volume 1 just blew me away with how ruthless and cold Darth Vader could be, because I had never read those stories, and there's a lot of new stories in here for me, even though these were printed like in the 90s and 2013, 2014. But yes, he is just as ruthless and evil and cold, yet is complex, right? Just like the way that Kieran Gillen wrote him in the Darth Vader series that he was writing. You're going to see some familiar faces through here, and again, you're going to know where this is going to go, right? Like you know where this is going to end because this all leads into episode 4. But the journey, I think, is just as fun to get there. You're going to see flashbacks here. This is really cool because, like I said, they had the movies to work on, so they know that Anakin and Obi-Wan were friends when they were younger, and this is a really cool sequence here. There are some really awesome use of or rather creative use of the Jedi swords, like their weapons, how they're making their weapons now that they've kind of been disbanded and they don't know what to do. So they have to get creative when it comes to making these particular weapons, and I really enjoyed that about this particular series. This is the Tim Seidel series, the Ninth Assassin, and this is, like I said, pretty on the nose. It's like 8 assassins were hired to go and kill Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine, and they've all failed. Now the ninth assassin is after Darth Vader. And then we get the Cry of Shadows, which I really love that particular name. It doesn't really tell you exactly what it's about. I love this is the cover, and that's the standard edition cover. And in this particular story, this is all told through the perspective of a stormtrooper that was left for dead in the Clone Wars. And it's kind of like how he holds a grudge against the Jedi who pretty much abandoned him. Because he didn't know the outcome of what was happening. He didn't know about the rise of the Empire. All he knows is that he was left behind, and now he wants revenge, and then he ends up working with Darth Vader. And then we get some little stories in here about like young Luke Skywalker with Owen and Beru living out there, and there's some nice appearances in here, including a dark creature that is chasing down this young boy. He claims to know who he is, and you get some other nice little surprises in here, and I can't show who exactly or what exactly that is. This is a young Han Solo, and this is the Star Wars Tales number 12, The Duty. And what you're going to be seeing through here, like you saw in this Luke Skywalker story, is that you're going to be seeing small little stories that lead up to episode 4, and it's all collected between the Darth Vader stuff and the droid stuff. Even though this one features Vader, and I like the way Vader is drawn in this one too. He looks skinny, menacing. We get to see more of Luke Skywalker living his days out in the desert with some friends, and you may get to see some appearances of friends that showed up later in the movies. You get a story of Lando Calrissian, and you get the story of maybe how Han Solo ended up with the Millennium Falcon. This right here, I could tell immediately that by the way the nose is drawn here, I didn't even have time to look at the credits because I just kept reading these stories. This is Kiyoshi Miya, who wrote and drew this particular story. And Kiyoshi Miya, to me, was just a huge manga god. I loved Kiyoshi Miya's Silent Mobius, Theme Detectives, Dark Angel, and those particular manga. And then when Kia crossed over to America to start doing X-Men, I was like, what? And then, of course, the Star Wars adaptations of the movies. So Kia was always a big fan of the movies. But this is a story about Boba Fett versus Darth Vader, and it is an awesome story. Because, again, this is happening before episodes 4, 5, and 6. And then we get to the droids. And the droids is really interesting because I came into the droids immediately wanting to hate this. I was not a fan of the cartoon growing up, and I'm probably just crushing a lot of people's dreams because they all loved. And I'm probably speaking blasphemous right now because there's a lot of people that probably enjoy the Droids cartoons. But I think I'd rather watch the Ewok Adventure cartoons than the Droids. I don't know what it was about C-3PO and R2-D2. They just got on my nerves. So in this, what the writers do is they decide to focus on other characters, and you're going to see appearances by IG-88. The droids end up getting mixed up with different folks through here. And it starts off with what I thought was going to be the main story arc, that, oh, they're going to be around for a while because uh, they crash land on this planet and they end up meeting. Let me see if I can find it actually. Yeah, here we go. You have Meg and Jarth right there, husband and wife, and the Baron, who is this kid's grandfather, and this is Knack. And this is where they end up for a while, and they kind of like go on these little misadventures. Almost feels like a kid's cartoon. But I ended up really liking these stories. Like, surprisingly, maybe because, like I said, I was expecting something goofy. Because later on, the droids end up going on a misadventure that leads them into, like, running into pirates, running into a revolution, escaping from the Empire. And all of this was written before episodes 1, 2, and 3 were even a thing. So this is just before they joined forces with Princess Leia and Han Solo and Luke Skywalker in episodes 4, 5, and 6. This is the droids just having adventures by themselves, and they've been together. They're being sold left and right by different masters, and these particular comics just showcase what their adventures are like before meeting these particular characters of Luke, Leia, and Han. And yeah, I found these really interesting. I didn't sit here and binge read these like I did the Vader books. And I'm honestly glad that they separated the stories. Like Vader, like I said, is about the 3/5, and this is 2/5 of the book. And in the middle is where you're going to find the stories of Han and Luke when they were younger. Because I can't imagine a dark story of Darth Vader in between these stories. Like, you see silly little droids that are coming in there. And then eventually, like I said, they end up getting to join forces with some bounty hunters and go after some bounties themselves. Like when they run into Forino, or no, Forno, that's her name, as she's hunting down Olag, who is a bounty they've been looking for. And yeah, they just go on adventures with pirates and other types of aliens out there. And eventually would join the rebellion. I really like the art in the last, this one here. It's this painted art style, and this is all done by Igor Kordy. And I wanted to point this out because Igor Kordy is one of these artists that I think because of his art in New X-Men, people are like, oh, he's one of the worst artists ever. But I've always said that when he takes his time, he's an amazing artist. When he was doing New X-Men, he was also working on Extreme X-Men and Cable. He was doing 3 monthlies at a time. So his art really suffered for it. But when he's doing just one book, he is freaking awesome. And that's what his art looks like in this particular story, which is the last one collected in here. Now, let's look at the extras. So you do have some trade paperback covers and special covers. There's only one picture I can't show you because it spoils a surprise through here that I want people to be pleasantly surprised when they get to. So I'll be skipping that one. But you have character designs here and sketches of not just the droids, but trade paperbacks too. And you do have the intro here by Anthony Daniels when the trade paperbacks were coming out. Kenny Baker. Of course, those are the actors that played C-3PO and R2-D2. I got to skip the next one because that's the one that spoils something. And then you have pinups, trade paperback covers from the Dark Horse stuff if it was a new cover, and then original pages here. All right, let's take a look at this binding and talk about the build of the book. 1,032 pages. It is sewn binding, and that's what the eye looks like. There are some spread pages, but not a lot. Not a huge lot. But you do get some gutter loss, especially towards the beginning. It's minor gutter loss, but it's gutter loss nonetheless. As far as the paper stock, this is weird, but it feels like it's a little thinner as the beginning and at the end of the omnibus, but in the middle, the paper stock gets a little bit thicker. I've noticed that in other books too. I'm sorry, I can't recall off the top of my head. This is printed at the iMac printer. People have asked me, do they still have that smell? This one didn't. Like, honestly, it's been a while. I can't remember the last one that I remember having out for like 2 weeks out of the plastic, and it still smelled like that chemical smell. There is some bleed through happening. especially like I said, towards the beginning where you can see some of the art bleeding through when it's either white or light colors being used. Zhao, not Matu. Why did I call him Matu? Because there's so many damn characters in this book, that's why. But that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this book. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking this volume up, if you're hoping that they'll do a volume 3 someday, and what other legends or part of the Dark Horse era Star Wars books do you want to see collected in omnibus format. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button on the way out. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.